Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So a few things to cover here, nothing too huge, but first of all I do just want to mention that Avatar Trivia Challenge number 3 is currently open on my channel. So I posted this on the 20th, so 5 days are obviously gone here already. If you do want to participate in the trivia, you have until August 31st, so just be aware of that. There's not too much longer left, but still a bit of time. So as you can see on screen here, there are 11 questions. It's a more slightly difficult trivia. If we take a look at some of the questions, you can see there's question 1, but that's not super tricky. Question 3 is a little bit more tricky, of like name 11 books in the Avatar universe from within the show, not talking about naming the comics and stuff like that. So there's some interesting stuff here. The link to this video, if you want to check out the questions and how to enter, is in the description. But from there, we'll move on to this. And that is that on the Braving the Elements podcast this week, they had Tim Hedrick on. And they framed this as the sort of, intro to the comics kind of episode, which it sort of was. So what that meant is that for, hardcore fans, I don't think you learn too much about the comics, because Tim Hedrick, yes, he's been involved in a reasonable amount of the comics, but he hasn't been involved in quite a lot of them. It's a good discussion if you're interested in it. It's better than a lot of the episodes, but if you're looking for in-depth stuff here, that's maybe not what you get from this one. One interesting part about this episode, though, is that right at the end, as they're sort of signing off, Tim Hedrick basically gives a little bit of you should read the comics because of this. And of course, he's involved with Avatar Studios, so, he has something to say there. So I'll just play a little clip from this episode to highlight that. Okay, here's the setup, full kind of context for what he says.
Yeah, for the people out there that have only watched the two shows, Airbender and Korra, and have not delved into the comics, you can understand the Avatar verse is so expansive through the comics over the last few years. Yes, we are excited about the new things that are Mike and Brian and Avatar Studios is announcing, and they're furthering what we know the stories are, but there's plenty of stories to dig into to catch you up.
Love it.
On what's going on, and it's all connected, and that, for me as an Avatar fan, is exciting.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you
haven't
read the comics and you're excited for the new stuff, read the comics, because it's only going to enrich your experience going forward. You're going to know more about what's happening. You may recognize some characters that you haven't gotten to meet yet.
Yes, indeed.
You might meet some new ones.
So you can see there, when he spoke, he mentioned, you'll basically have a better understanding of what's going on. Very much highlighting that I think we pretty much know already. They're not going to be doing direct adaptations. They've sort of confirmed that for the upcoming Avatar Studios projects. But they did basically say that they would be sort of stemming off that. They would be acknowledging that the comics have happened and not just making them non-canon. They're involving them. The comics are a very important part of the continuity. And effectively what Tim Hedrick says there is that if you read the comics, you will be familiar with certain characters who people who only watch the animations will only meet basically for the first time in one of these projects. You'll know them already. Now, what characters are we really talking about there? In terms of ATLA specifically, I suppose we're kind of primarily talking about, say, one, Ursa, confirming that Ursa is probably going to be around, of course. They're going to have to acknowledge that, and so just to be like, hey, Ursa's here. And hey, here's Noran/Ikem. And oh yeah, Zuko has another sister whose name is Kiyi. And then if we're doing stuff with Toph, we sort of do have to acknowledge that she trained other metal benders, and so her metal bending students are going to have to probably get a mention there. If we do stuff with say Katara and Sokka, and we maybe go to the Water Tribe, you're going to have to acknowledge that Hakoda is in a relationship with Melina and so on. And then there's other ways to incorporate other characters in there as well that has been directly set up. But in terms of the really obvious ones directly related to a lot of the main plots, there is some examples. I think a lot of people would be Kiyi for absolute sure, but you get the sense that a few of those other characters are definitely going to make an appearance. So that is good to know, even if it's relatively subtle information overall. Then, I just want to mention Gamescom 2022 in the context of we are waiting for Avatar Quest for Balance to get properly announced. Gamescom, the first 2 days have happened. Tuesday has happened, Wednesday has happened. And for the most part, in terms of general video game announcements, I think those were the 2 nights where a big announcement probably would happen. Avatar was not announced on the first night. I don't think anything was said on the second night. I didn't even watch that one, but I haven't heard anything about it since. I'd be shocked if sort of tonight at the Xbox thing they announce anything. And then I suppose there's maybe the opportunity with indies, but I think the whole point of indies is that very few of those games are actually like IP-based games. So it means that I'm guessing Gamescom just isn't going to be where the announcement of this actually happens. So if not now, when? Given that the release date of this thing is apparently November 8th, they need to say something about this soon. What was interesting is that at the event on Tuesday, Sonic Frontiers, the new Sonic game, got confirmed to have the release date of November 8th as well. And then I think the new God of War game is out the day afterwards. So the date doesn't even seem like the best in terms of if this thing is actually going to sell. Now, obviously, there's a sense where, like, sure, Avatar fans, there's going to be some crossover there. But fundamentally, if you're selling this game to Avatar fans, they're probably going to get it if they want to get it. So, you know, there's that as well. I don't think it's going to matter too much. They probably know it's not going to be this amazing, crazy success of a game. But they probably should start to talk about it soon, because we know so little about it and it's out in basically weeks. So I don't know when they're going to announce it. Is it just going to randomly happen? Because I don't even know like what other events there are coming up. Like there's New York Comic Con, but that's so close to the release date because it's like more or less end of October. That would be like 2 or 3 weeks before it comes out. So that seems awfully close to leave it. So I don't actually know what the deal is there, but hopefully soon, because, you know, I think there's some excitement about it, even if it's not crazy big. And then the last bits of information here are just some more casting news for the Netflix live action show. So we get here, Ryan Ma has been cast as Lieutenant Dang in, or Dong in the Netflix show. So this is a new original character. Now, again, I think this leaves it open to some degree of like, is he actually going to have like a new role that was never there before? Or is this just going to be one of the officers that was in episodes just getting a name here for the first time? We don't really know, but either way, it's like, okay, it's something. We have May ask, so Thalia Tran has been cast as May. So this means we have our full kind of Ozai's Angels lineup here. And again, the idea is that apparently we're going to get a look at what these characters have been up to in the context of book 1. So that's the interesting thing here. I still maybe wouldn't expect them to have a huge role, but I guess they're just establishing that they're here prior to them being introduced kind of more heavily later on. And then the most recent one here was that Francois Chow has been cast as the Great Sage of the Fire Temple. Okay, so that is like a 108, a Roku kind of related thing here. And again, this is actually an actor that I do know, mainly for his role as in Lost as the kind of like the head guy, and then the videos from the Dharma Initiative, which is quite fun here. So that should be cool. There's a couple of Lost actors in the show, which are the main ones that I'm actually familiar with. So that's kind of fun. But other than that, I'm very unfamiliar with a lot of the cast. And it's just, again, please just show something about this show. It's been a very long time. We need to see something more than just names of actors involved in this. So hopefully something happens soon with regards to that. And just in general, it highlights that we are in this sort of like kind of waiting kind of period in the Avatar fandom at the moment, where for the most part there's no real new comics out until like the middle of next year. Yes, there's patterns in time, but the closer and closer we get to that, the more it seems that there's not much new content in that book. The Chibi comic, I think we now know what exactly to expect, and again, there's not all that much to it. Merch hasn't even been firing on all cylinders that much this year either, so it's very much just finally some of this stuff beginning to like activate us, get news about some of these things. But it should mean that like hopefully 2022 is the last year where it's more set up, build up, and 2023 is maybe the year where we start to get the proper like announcements and the hype cycle really begins for the bigger stuff. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on what was said by Tim Hedrick on the Braving the Elements podcast. Some kind of relatively minor Avatar Studios news. It's not that big of a reveal because we sort of knew it already. Where do you think the Quest for Balance game is going to get announced? And as time goes on, like, do you actually think that it's going to hit the November 8th date? And then any thoughts on some of these new actors here. But otherwise, that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.